Hi yogis, Nin from Nin Yoga here. Today we have a Hatha yoga class. This class will be a bit between the Yin, which is static, staying still yoga, and Vinyasa, which is traditionally quite a fast flowing yoga session where you're doing a series of asanas or postures one after the other. Hatha yoga, however, is a lot more focused on getting the alignment correct, the postures correct, and we'll stay in the poses for a bit longer. We're also going to be doing meditation or savasana at the very end for a bit longer than maybe we've done in the past. So get something comfortable on, hop onto your mat, and let's get started. So the first pose we're going to do is come to a cross-legged position. And we're going to take an inhale and bring our palms together. And exhale, bringing them down to the heart. We'll do that again. Inhale, exhale. So it's really important in Hatha yoga to follow your breath and focus on your breathing. It is in all yoga, but here we really focus on getting things right and listening and tuning into our bodies. And from here, after you've taken a few stretches, put your right hand on the ground and lift your left over your head and just stretch through your obliques here. And if you like, maybe come down onto the forearm. Just keeping yourself stretched out. Good. And then breathing out. And then coming up to center. Inhale. Exhale. And come down to the other side. So put your left hand on the mat and stretch over with your right arm. And again, if this is available, bring your forearm down to the mat and just stretch through your obliques. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Beautiful. Okay, coming up to seated position. We're now going to bring our right ear towards our right shoulder and give the neck a little stretch. Roll the head round and come over with your left ear to your left shoulder and feel the stretch through the neck on the other side. And try and keep your right shoulder pulling down to make the stretch feel effective. Inhale into it, exhale, and then bring your head to center, and then tilt your head down, chin towards the chest. Feel the spine elongating. Exhale, look up to the sky. Maybe wiggle your head side to side. And then circle your head round. You might feel a little bit of crunching there, that's totally normal. Circle it round again. And come to center and go the other way. Once more. And then bringing your left palm over towards the right hand side of your waist and clasp your left hand with your right and look over your right shoulder if that's available. center, palms on the mat, then bringing your right palm over to your left hand side of your waist, and clasp your right hand this time with your left and look over your left shoulder. Inhale, exhale. Good. Now come back to center and bring your palms out to the side. Just going to move across here to make sure I've got a bit of room. And then just open your chest really wide and push your palms and arms back as though you're sort of bringing your shoulder blades together and about to embrace somebody. So then, when I said embrace somebody, you're going to give yourself elbows roughly on top of each other and just bring your palms around to your shoulders and give yourself a hug. And then inhale and bring your palms out again. Just stretching through your chest, opening up. And then just stretching one more time, and then bringing your arms in again, and try to do it. Bring your elbows to be stacked on top of each other, bring your palms around to your shoulders, but try and do it the other way than what you did last time. Just to allow a bit of symmetry with the body. And enjoy hugging yourself, feeling your inner strength and inner power. And give yourself a hug for honouring your practice today and getting moving on the mat. Okay, so now we'll come back into our easy pose, legs crossed, and then we're slowly going to transition into a tabletop pose. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with tabletop pose, put your palms under your shoulders. So your wrists should be directly under your shoulders. Your knees should be hip width apart and your toes pointing back towards the shorter end of your mat. And then what we're going to do is just do some circles in this pose. So bring your chest forward and then begin to circle back with your hips towards your seat, and do that around a couple of times. Get yourself moving. And then go back the other way, keeping your alignment and your posture. And then we're going to take here a few cat-cows, and what this means is we arch the spine, bring the tailbone in, drop the head, inhale, and then exhale into cow. So dropping the belly to the floor, lifting the tailbone up, opening the chest and looking up at a point in the sea. Not really the ceiling, the wall. And then exhale, tucking the tailbone in again, or take another one of cat-cows. Inhale, arching the spine. Exhale, dropping the belly to the mat, opening the chest and looking up. And then we're going to come back into tabletop pose. So straighten the back, just look down at your navel. Just to get your balance, and then we're just going to rock with our hips from side to side. Now I feel a lot of clicking when I do this. It's totally normal. Sometimes it's just the hips moving in a position or a direction. They haven't moved in for a short time. Maybe you've been sat at your desk all day. Now speaking of being sat at your desk all day, this one will be, next move we do will be really good for the typists among you, or just people who work on a computer. So what I'd like you to do is come into a kneeling position and then bring your hands out in front of you and flip your wrists round like that and put them round in front of you again, and just start to lean on them on the mat. So laying your palms down flat on the mat in this pose, and then just sit back if you can and just stretch the wrists out. So if you can, you might be able to bring your tailbone further towards your ankles, but what you're really aiming to do here is just stretch through the wrists. And again, this is really good for those of you who are at desks for extended periods of time using particular muscles and you're not stretching, giving much leeway to your wrists. Then inhale. We're just going to come up and shake that out just to get the blood going again. Feels good, but feels strong, that stretch. And then we're going to do another one for our wrists. So bring your palms out in front of you and then just circling round like this, your hands. And then again, put your palms down on the mat and lean back. And this one feels particularly good for me. So I just stretch into my wrists again. Inhale. Exhale. That's beautiful. Well done. Okay. Then we're just going to shake that out. Putting our palms down onto the mat. Bring our fingers so they're neatly spread, and we're going to come into our first downward facing dog. So to do this, come back into tabletop, like we did earlier. Then what I want you to do is tuck your toes under and lift your seat up to the sky. So you may have done this before, and if so, try to keep your biceps away from your ears and try and just pedal it out here, bringing your heels towards the mat. And if you haven't done this before, maybe just look at me. What you should really look like is a sort of kind of upside down V. That's the best way to describe it. And you might need to bend your knees, and that's absolutely fine. And then maybe we just come up onto our tiptoes. And exhale, bringing our heels down to the mat. Now, no worries if you can't get your heels completely flat onto the mat. It's practice, and sometimes you might not even get there with lots of practice. So here it's a really good calf stretch, and also you're bringing blood to the head, which are two areas, of course, that you don't often stretch. You obviously aren't in this type of position very often. And just pedal it out here into our first downward dog. That feels good. And then what I'd like you to do is just come into an extended child's pose. So bring your knees down to the mat, untuck your toes, and then bringing your knees to the edge of the mat like this. And then just walking forward, bringing your chest down, keeping your palms spread, and then just kissing the mat with your forehead. And ideally here you should be trying to press your tailbone back towards your heels, but just take as much stretching there as you need to, just feeling a nice stretch through the spine. And from here, just bring your palms, walk them back up to the side of you. Bring your knees together and come down onto the mat, onto your belly. And we're going to come to a pose called Baby Cobra. So to do this, put your palms down onto the mat and try and kind of bring your elbows towards each other. So try and, obviously you won't be able to make them touch, but bring your shoulder blades together, keep your palms flat on the mat, and then just lift up your chest slightly. And this pose is called Baby Cobra. Breathe here. Feel the stretch. Exhale, beautiful. Come down to the mat with your forehead. Inhale before we lift up into a full cobra. So to do this, we press down with our palms, we straighten our arms, and we bend the spine, opening the chest, and try and keep your shoulders away from your ears, pulling them away, opening the chest, engaging your thighs in the ground, touching the ground with your toenails, and just have that in mind that you're a zip. You've zipped up your lower body. Beautiful. Okay, lowering down to the mat so that we're bringing our belly fully down to the mat and our forehead there. What I'd like you to do now is to interlace the hands and then slowly bring your shoulder blades together, lifting your shoulders off the mat, and then slowly opening your chest and just pulling up so that we get a good stretch in the shoulder blades and in the chest. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. That was a tough one. Okay, coming down to the mat, forehead down on the mat, and then bringing our palms next to us either side, and then pushing up into a tabletop very briefly before we come into a low lunge. Now to do this, you might be able to just pop your right foot between your palms, but if not, might need a bit of help just walking it in front. So here you should have your knee at a right angle, a 90-degree angle, and your knee should be stacked above the ankle, and you should feel a push down into your hips, and then coming up, lifting up the chest, and if you can go a bit further, maybe lift up the palms above your head. Just make sure, always check with yourself and everyone's susceptible to it, just make sure that your knee's not coming too far in front of your ankles, so try and keep it up directly above it. And stretch through your palms, bring your pinky fingers together or towards each other, keeping your shoulders away from your ears. Excellent. Inhale, exhale, so bringing your palms down next to your right foot, and then slowly begin to push back with your hips and straighten out your leg, your right leg. So, you know, you might not be able to keep it as straight as possible. You might have a bent knee slightly. That's fine. This is a hamstring stretch. It stretches deeply into the hamstrings. And if you can, bring your toes towards, your right toes towards you. So you're flexing your foot. And this is what they call the half splits. Keeping your hips squared, always very important, towards the front of the mat. And just breathe into this. And then placing the right foot back onto the mat, bringing your palms next to your right foot, and then just bringing your right foot back to meet your left. And your knees, just check in that your knees are about hip width apart and your palms are on the mat. And then just bringing your left foot to the front of the mat. And again, you might need some help doing that with your hands, or you might be able to just step it forward and bring your palms down on the mat and check in again. Are you at a 90-degree angle with your left knee above your left ankle? Press down through the hips, coming up with your torso so that you're pulling through your spine, your forehead, your head or your crown is pulling up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, bringing your palms above your head, open them And again, bring your pinky fingers towards each other and press down through your hips. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Bringing your palms down to either side of your left foot and then pushing back, straightening up your left leg. Bring your forehead down to your left knee, and again, it doesn't matter if your leg is bent. And if it's available, flexing your left foot. Keeping in tune with your hips, making sure they're square with the mat. Inhale, exhale into the hamstrings. And slowly place your left foot onto the mat. And then bringing with control your left foot back to meet the right into tabletop. And from here, we're going to come briefly, and I say very briefly, into a downward facing dog. So just lifting your seat up to the sky, bringing your ankles and heels down towards the mat, pressing down through them. Let your head hang. And then we're going to hop or walk to the front of our mat so that our feet are in between our palms. And then what I'd like you to do is you can bend your knees here, or you can straighten them and just hang here in a standing forward fold. Feeling a stretch through your spine. Exhale. And slowly from here, we're going to come up into our pose called Tadasana, which is mountain pose. It's just basically standing up straight. When you're up, roll your shoulders back. Roll your shoulders back. Crown is coming up to the sky. And maybe have your toes coming in towards each other. Engage your thighs, engage your knees, straighten your spine. And from here, we're going to step back firstly into a high lunge. So step back with your left foot and bend your right knee in high lunge. So again, same rules apply as before, except for obviously now you're in a high lunge. Just make sure your knee is above the ankle and make sure you've got balance so that your left foot is pressing down, and keep your hips square with the mat. I'm going to come into a crescent lunge from here, if you can take this a bit further. Inhale, bringing your palms above you, and then bend back slightly so that you feel a stretch through your back and through your left thigh. Take 2 breaths here. Beautiful. Okay. Place your hands on your hips and then come to face the mat so that you're facing the long side of your mat, and put your hands on your hips and have your toes maybe facing in slightly towards each other and be in a triangular type pose here. Hands on your hips, breathe, lifting up, and then slowly bend forward down into a wide-legged fold. So here you might be able to touch the floor, or you might just want to keep your hands on your hips, or you might want to reach around your ankles and just let your head hang here and let the blood go to the head and feel a lovely stretch through your hamstrings. Beautiful. Okay, inhale, bringing your hands to your hips. Going to come up again, and then I'm going to turn the other way and bend our left knee, that 90-degree angle, and stretch through the right foot. right thigh down to the floor, and as again, bringing our palms up above us, leaning back into a crescent lunge. Exhale, come down with the palms to the mat. Stepping back into a downward facing dog. So in the V shape again, take a few breaths here, take 3 breaths. Pushing your sternum towards your thighs. Okay, now come down onto your knees and come to sit on your mat. And from here, I want you to maybe scoot a bit forward if you need to. Keep your legs straight out in front of you, flexing the feet, taking an inhale, straight spine, and then maybe your hands will come to your shins and maybe you'll need to bend your legs, or maybe your hands can go around your feet and you can bend completely forward. And just take a few breaths here and feel that stretch in the lower spine. Okay, now slowly let go and with control come up into a saddle pose. And then what I'd like you to do is bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees fall out to the side and just hold on to your feet as we come into a butterfly pose. And just keep the back straight with this one and just let your knees fall out to the side. If you like to push them a bit more, just place your elbows next to the knees and just press and apply a bit of pressure on them there. But try always to keep your back straight and always check in with yourself. Don't judge yourself if you lapse a little bit. Just correct and move on. Okay, so bringing your knees together and slowly we're going to come down to the mat and maybe hug our knees in to our chest, just here. And then let your knees fall over towards the left. And here you can either do some cactus arms, so it's bending your arms right next to you. You might be able to straighten them. I haven't got a lot of room here, so I'm going to do cactus arms. And then what I'd like you to do is look out towards your right shoulder. Come back to center. And then let your knees fall towards the right. Maybe scoot your hips towards the left to support you doing this. And look over your left shoulder. Try and keep your shoulders on the ground, even if it means lifting your knees up slightly. Taking an inhale and an exhale. And then we're going to come into the most important pose of all, and that is Shavasana. So just let your feet flop out, straighten your legs, and let your feet flop out to the side, open up your hands to the ceiling, and breathe in and out. And this is our final resting pose. And breathing into your furrowed brow.
unclench your jaw, which is very common to do in this pose. Breathing down into your lungs, into your heart. And consider how your body feels now compared to how you felt at the beginning of the practice. And just thank yourself for taking this time. If you find your mind wandering to to-do lists or to apprehensions or anxieties or frustrated thoughts, just come back to this moment and think of nothing else. Clear your mind. Don't judge yourself for thinking any of those thoughts. Just bring yourself into this present moment and shepherd them away. Breathing oxygen into your whole system, down through the stomach, abdomen, into your pelvis, down through your legs, through your calves, and just sink into the mat. And slowly begin to wriggle your feet and hands. Shaking your calves and your arms. And then bring your feet to the mat, bending your knees. And then let your knees fall to the side. And slowly come up into a seated pose, crossing the legs. Inhale, loop the shoulders round, bringing the palms above us, interlace the fingers, and just stretch out to your right hand side. Come back to center, stretch out to the left. Come back to center, bring your palms together into a prayer pose, bring your thumbs to your head, and we bow and say Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you so much for practicing this with me, yogis. I am just honoured that you spent the time today working on Hatha Yoga with me. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel or offer any comments if you enjoyed this practice or what you'd like to see. I have plenty of other videos of different themes and I'm happy to cater to all sorts of tastes. So if you like me, please give me the thumbs up. Namaste.